Hey friends, welcome back. Hope you're doing well and staying cool this August, because we've got a big one for you today. The kind of news that could genuinely change the way millions of older Americans handle their bills over the next year. This month, Washington has approved what's being called a record-breaking relief package for seniors, the largest direct support of its kind in over 2 decades. Now, you might be thinking, wait, record-breaking? Didn't we just have a big Social Security cost of living adjustment last year? We did, but this is different. This isn't just about inflation adjustments. It's a targeted plan meant to provide extra breathing room for older Americans feeling squeezed by higher grocery prices, climbing energy bills, and those stubbornly high medical costs. Let's break down what's going on. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, this package includes a direct payment component, expanded Medicare coverage for certain prescriptions, and a temporary utility credit designed to help households keep the lights and the air conditioning on through the end of the year. Lawmakers from both parties had been under pressure for months to address what AARP called a mounting crisis of affordability for retirees on fixed incomes. On the Hill, it took some unusual alliances to get this done. Senator Margaret Doyle, a Democrat from Illinois, called the final bill a lifeline for our seniors, while Republican Senator James Holloway from Ohio said, "We may disagree on the size of government, but we can agree that those who built this country shouldn't have to choose between food and medicine." It's rare to hear that kind of bipartisan tone these days, but the vote, 72 to 26 in the Senate, tells you just how much momentum this had. So what's actually in the package? Here's the quick version. 1. Eligible seniors, generally those over 62 with annual incomes under $65,000, will see a one-time direct deposit between $800 and $1,400, depending on income level. 2. Medicare Part D will now fully cover insulin for the rest of the year, no copay, no deductible. 3. States will receive federal funding to offer energy bill credits automatically applied to qualifying households. Seems straightforward, right? But there's a lot of backstory here. Earlier this year, inflation cooled in some sectors, but food inflation stayed stubbornly high, especially for staples like bread, milk, and fresh produce. At the same time, the average monthly Social Security check increased by just over $50 from January's cost of living adjustment, which for many seniors barely covered the higher price of prescription drugs. Economists like Dr. Elena Morris from the Brookfield Policy Institute warned in May that, without targeted relief, we risk seeing a significant rise in senior poverty rates. And then came the summer heat wave. Energy demand spiked, bills followed, and advocacy groups pushed the White House and Congress to move faster. When I spoke with a senior policy advisor, off camera but on background, they told me, we knew a traditional cost of living adjustment wouldn't cut it. We needed something immediate and visible. That's why this bill was designed to deliver relief within weeks, not months. Of course, not everyone's thrilled. Fiscal conservatives argue this sets a precedent for regular emergency payouts, which they say could fuel the national debt. Groups like the Balanced Budget Coalition warn that while helping seniors is vital, Washington still has to pay the bills. On the flip side, progressive lawmakers are already calling this package a first step, pushing for a permanent expansion of Medicare dental and vision coverage. So, what happens next? The Treasury says payments will start hitting bank accounts as early as August 20th, with the majority processed by the end of the month. Medicare's expanded insulin coverage kicks in immediately, and the utility credits should appear on September bills for most households. There's also an important oversight component. The Government Accountability Office will issue a mid-October report on how funds are distributed and whether they're reaching the intended recipients. That report could determine whether this relief becomes a one-off or the model for future support. Economists are split on the impact. Some, like Professor Alan Rees at Georgetown, say this could boost local economies as seniors spend the extra cash on necessities, and maybe the occasional treat. Others warn it might have minimal macroeconomic effect but could create political momentum heading into the 2026 midterms. For older Americans watching this right now, the big takeaway is, check your eligibility. The official eligibility page is already live on the Social Security Administration and Medicare websites. Watch out for scams. No one from the government will call you asking for bank info to release your payment. Now, let's step back for a moment and look at this relief package from another angle, not just as a one-off windfall, but as part of a bigger pattern we've been seeing in U.S. economic policy towards seniors. Think about it. In the last 5 years, We've had 2 record cost of living adjustments for Social Security, a cap on insulin prices, expanded telehealth services under Medicare, and now this unprecedented mid-year direct payment. This isn't business as usual, it's a shift in how Washington responds to aging Americans in real time, instead of only through annual budget cycles. Why now? Well, partly demographics. The baby boomer generation is moving deeper into retirement age, and that's tens of millions of voters who care, deeply, about economic stability and healthcare access. Political strategist Linda Carpenter told me in a quick call this morning, you can't ignore the senior vote. Any party that does risks losing control of Congress. And with the 2026 midterms already taking shape, you better believe both Republicans and Democrats are looking at this package as more than just a policy move, it's a message. From the GOP side, you're hearing phrases like targeted, temporary aid, designed to signal fiscal responsibility while still showing compassion. From the Democratic side, the language leans toward foundational change, implying that this could be the beginning of a more permanent safety net expansion. Now here's where it gets interesting. Economists are watching to see if this relief could actually lower healthcare costs in the short term. How? If seniors can better afford their prescriptions and utilities, they're less likely to skip meds or delay care, which could reduce expensive ER visits. A 2023 study from the Kaiser Family Foundation found that seniors who skipped medications due to cost were nearly twice as likely to require hospitalization within the year. But, and you knew there was a but, funding matters. This package is pegged at $94 billion, fully funded through a mix of reallocated pandemic relief funds and a short-term surcharge on certain corporate stock buybacks. Critics argue that's a political band-aid, not a long-term funding solution. Senator Mark Henderson, a Republican from Texas, put it bluntly, you can't keep robbing Peter to pay Paul. Meanwhile, advocacy groups like the National Council on Aging are already drafting proposals for what they're calling Relief 2.0, a plan that would lock in annual emergency payment authority tied to inflation spikes or energy price surges. So, is this the start of a new policy era for older Americans, or a one-time emergency measure? Too early to say. But history tells us that once a benefit like this is introduced, and people see it in their bank accounts, it's very hard for lawmakers to walk it back. Before we wrap, I want to leave you with this: programs like this remind us that politics doesn't always have to be a zero-sum game. When both sides decide to focus on solving a real, immediate problem, things can move quickly. Whether this is the start of a more cooperative era or just a rare exception, well, we'll see. We'll be keeping a close eye on the rollout, the October Oversight Report, and any new proposals building off this momentum. Thanks for tuning in, and if you want to stay updated on how this relief plays out, and on other major policy moves that could impact your wallet, stick around. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next update.